there, Living Springs. Thanks for tuning in for this week's update. Hope you're enjoying the warm weather. I know right now there are churches that are reopening, even in our city, and you may be wondering what's happening. We are making plans to reopen when possible, even if it means that church will be different than what you experienced before COVID. In the meantime, we do have our live stream watch parties continuing, weather permitting, throughout the summer. We were encouraged by the increased number of people who were out last weekend to connect together while watching the live streams on our property. However, I do need to provide some updates on changes to our watch parties effective this weekend. As leadership, we've tried to follow the restrictions of the Alberta government carefully and faithfully since this pandemic began. Our watch parties also need to fall within these guidelines, even though they are outside. And so because of that, there's some changes that are going to take place starting this Saturday and Sunday. There's basically two main changes, and the two changes are this. First is we're going to ask that you please wait to be seated by the host when you arrive so that we can ensure physical distancing. We had people coming last weekend, and as they just gathered and got together and sat down, we ended up with some families sitting way too close. If you have cohort families that you want to sit with, please wait for them to arrive as well so you can be seated together to a maximum of 15 in your party. That's not a Living Springs restriction, that is an AHS restriction. As well, we do need to, starting this weekend, record your name of every family that arrives. The second change is this, is that kids have to remain with families for the duration of the time at the church, both during the live stream and after while you visit with friends. Unfortunately, we can't allow kids to be running around together because we can't ensure they are maintaining physical distancing or staying in their cohort groups. I know this makes it a little more difficult because we're used to our kids just running around when service is over. But this, unfortunately, is a restriction that we, as the ones hosting the watch party, have to enforce and ask you to abide by. I recognize there are many different opinions on the restrictions we're all living under. However, when we gather together, I'd ask you to follow the guidelines for two reasons. First, and most importantly, when we gather, there are some who come who are high risk, and some who are very concerned about maintaining physical distancing, though they themselves may not be high risk. And we want to provide an environment where everyone feels welcomed and safe. And second, I believe it's important for us as a church to submit to those in authority and to do what is being asked of us by our government. This is something we always need to do, but even more so when we gather where others could see us, like in our parking lot. I hope these changes don't prevent anyone from coming to the watch parties, but instead make them an option more people feel free to take part in. And remember, you also have the option of hosting a watch party at your home with some friends if you can't make it out to the church. As always, if you have any questions or concerns about anything I've talked about here, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks. Have a great week.